The World Cup is up and running. All the first round games have been played. Second round games begin today, and we can tell you, as we start recording, that Iran have beaten Wales 1-0 in winning goal scored in overtime after the Welsh goalkeeper had been sent off. But to discuss the tournament now, what we've seen so far and what's to come, I'm joined by John Giles and Liam Brady. Liam, you just watched Iran and Wales, and John also. You both seem to think that Iran deserved it.
They did, Eamon. Yeah, they hit the post twice in the second half with really good shots. Of course, Wayne Hennessy, the goalkeeper, getting sent off with 10 minutes to go. They were really up against it. Looked very, very hot. Gareth Bale didn't really show anything. Aaron Ramsey didn't really show anything. It hasn't been a tournament for the oldies just yet.
No.
They've all struggled a bit, and they were struggling quite a bit in that heat. And actually, Iran got another goal, and so they won it 2-0. So,
okay.
A convincing victory for them, and they'll have to play the United States in the last match to decide who goes through to the next round.
Right. John, you were impressed by Iran. It puts a good gloss on England's beating them 6-2, doesn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, as we know, England hammered them last week. But from the kickoff today, I totally agree with Liam. Iran looked a better team.
Yeah.
I mean, Bale, funny enough, I think in the last two matches, Bale hasn't kicked the ball.
No, should he?
He scored a penalty in the first match. But I don't think he did nothing today. Neither did Ramsey. It would be the experienced players that you're looking to.
Yeah.
To do well for Wales, but it didn't. But Iran definitely, agree with Liam totally, were the better team.
And they are brave men as well, because they didn't sing their national anthem the other day, and they'll have to face the authorities when they go home, but they'll be able to face them with a bit more public support and confidence after that victory. Now, Liam, we've all expected this tournament for a long time. I want to forget we've talked elsewhere about the stuff and the horrors of FIFA and indeed Qatar, but let's talk about the football. And I want to ask you, Liam, about Brazil last night, playing Serbia, who I thought were up to half-time were good, tough, solid lads. And I thought Brazil were struggling, but they came out and did the business in the second half. The longer the game went on, the more, demoralised Serbia looked.
Yeah, I like Brazil, Eamon. I have to say. Neymar didn't do too much.
No.
But they've got a fine team. They're a strong team. They've got space in their side as well. And I think that's been the factor that struck me most. The teams that have pace and the teams that haven't got pace. And France would be one of those as well, with Mbappe and Dembele on both wings. Brazil started the tournament well. Obviously, a good win puts them in a good position to go on and win the group from there. They've got to be one of the contenders. I thought they might blow out with Neymar. So dependent on him, but they look a good all-round team. And they look as if they can handle it physically as well. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask John, about Neymar. I think we all have doubts when they start talking about Neymar in the same sort of breath as Messi and Pele and all of that. And I don't put him up anywhere near those guys. What did you make of Brazil generally, John?
I thought second half, Eamon, they really came as you would expect them to do.
Yeah.
Very good. And I must confess about Richarlison.
Yeah, he's not your favourite.
I didn't fancy him. And Everton didn't fancy him at all. I didn't think he should have been in the Everton team.
Yeah.
But since he's gone to Spurs, he's definitely booked up.
Yeah.
I think the manager there would get a grip of him. And last night, he scored two really good goals at a time when they were needed.
Yeah.
This wasn't two after four going in. This was really, really dangerous for them at that particular stage. And they finished up in the Brazil team that you would expect them to. But two really good goals. Neymar, as we know, is a hugely talented guy. Hugely talented. But it's always is what's he going to do today?
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
he was okay yesterday, but he's I mean, the idea that he couldn't be mentioned in the same breath as Pele, by any means, in my opinion.
No.
But a good steady win, first win for Brazil.
Yeah, Liam, the other thing that Brazil have, they have Alisson, who's a superb goalkeeper and was called on a couple of times last night. And they have Casemiro in midfield as well. Very, very, very good player. And it sort of shows that Manchester United have got for their 60 million is still a very, very good player.
Yeah, he knows how to play that role brilliantly, Eamon, and he does it very well for his country. He also did it very well for Real Madrid. He hasn't really showed that much for Man United yet, but they have a tremendous pride in playing for the country, the Brazilians, and that was some goal from Richarlison, the second goal. It was you want to see a better goal than that in this World Cup.
Now, as John says, Liam, going to Antonio Conte at Tottenham, I'm surprised they brought him in. I didn't think, but Conte obviously seen something in him, and he looks fitter, sharper, and much less sulkier than he did at Everton. So a coach, in other words, in 2 months he's been there, can actually change a player's mentality and improve him.
Yeah, Conte would have helped in that respect, Eamon. Also, I think playing for a club that's got a chance of winning things. I think at Everton he got demoralised, disillusioned, and he showed it with his temperament, and he didn't really behave himself in the best possible way. But now he's at a big club, and as we mentioned, he's got a manager with a great track record, Conte, and he's in the Brazilian team. He must be a very happy lad at this time.
Yeah, absolutely. John, I want to look at the shock results for a moment. Argentina losing to Saudi Arabia. Now, I have to say, I backed Argentina to win the tournament, despite tipping Brazil to everyone else. Saudi Arabia ranked 51 in the world, which I didn't realise, which is quite high, really. And they hammered Argentina. They deserved it, didn't they, John?
Oh, definitely. I mean, they were very, very good. Argentina didn't turn up.
No.
They have Messi, and I have to confess to I tipped them, Argentina, for the tournament. But anyway, with Saudi Arabia, their attitude was terrific. I mean, Argentina looked like a team that just had to turn up to beat them easily.
Yes.
And they were caught by surprise in a big way, a really big way.
And they got a goal start.
And they got Messi got his penalty. And they were playing this high line business, Amy. They got away with it a bit, I must say. There was a few, I think Argentina scored 2 or 3 that were given offside.
Yes.
But they came out on top because of their attitude. Their attitude was brilliant. They were working for everybody. I think Argentina felt it was going to be an easy touch. And it never does. Never happens that way. So big surprise, big shock, Eamon.
Yeah, Liam, big shock. And you'd have to say, when you think of the Saudi goals, think of their energy and the way they kept, their tempo high right through the game. It wasn't much of a shock, in a sense. What was shocking was how poor Argentina were.
Yeah, I would agree with John. I think they were overconfident, Eamon, and particularly not, when they did score 2 or 3 goals that were given offside, I think they thought, well, we'll win this match without any problem anyway.
Yeah.
But they were getting caught offside. Martinez, he looks a bit too slow for me to lead the line.
Yeah.
Messi is not as mobile as he used to be. They have to play a lot of football to feet. They haven't really got runners in their attack game.
Right.
And, looking at them against Saudi, I kind of would revise my judgment. I think everybody wanted Messi to go out crowning glory and win the World Cup for his country. But I'm not too sure they can do it with that forward line. It looks a bit static to me.
Yes, and John, I mean, they 36 games unbeaten. They won the Copa America, which is a huge deal. And yet they looked sluggish. And it's either down to nerves or, as you suggested, complacency. There's no doubt, though, they've got to play Mexico tomorrow night. And they got to beat Mexico, haven't they?
Yeah, I think they've got to raise it, Eamon. Like it's all about attitude football. If you go out with an attitude that it's going to be easy, it never is. We all know. We all played in matches where you think you're going to win easily, and it just doesn't happen. You have to be at your best for every match that you play in. And I'd be surprised if we don't see a totally different Argentina for the next match.
Right. Yeah, and it's fair to say, Liam, that we should give Saudi Arabia the praise they deserved. I thought they were very, very good in every department of the game, and the goals they scored were really top-class goals.
Yeah, they were. They're a strong physical team. I think looking at Iran there as well, they have this kind of physicality about them. They can all run, and they're all very willing. It's a great result for them. Gives them a chance of getting out of the group. Argentina will have a difficult game against Mexico. We had another big surprise with the Germans as well. I
wanted to ask you about that, Liam. Tell me about that.
Well, there again, you have to give Japan so much credit. I mean, they worked ferociously hard. I've never seen a team run as much as they did, closing people down. And physically, they were at a disadvantage. The Germans were bigger lads,
Yeah.
But they were so game. They were so committed. And they got 2 great goals as well. It was no surprise to see the Germans getting beat in that second half. Japan were simply great.
Yeah, John, I watched the first half of that game only.
Yeah.
And I thought Germany were poor, but I thought they were poor coming into the tournament. They haven't had great results. What did you make of the Germans and the Japanese?
Well, I definitely poor German performance. I thought the Japanese were fantastic.
Right.
Absolutely fantastic. When you look at the physique or the physical aspect of the game, you know what I mean? Germany were twice their size, but it shows you about attitude again. These lads were going to do it in a terrific way.
Yeah.
Getting stuck in, getting back. They'd be a great... if you want to show a team, Eamon, they should take that match.
Yeah.
Any manager, and show what attitude is, real attitude is.
Yes.
Against the odds, against a team that was well, Germany are a famous team. I must be honest, at the start of the game early on when I saw it, I thought Germany were going to give them a hiding.
Yeah.
But because of their attitude and their gameness, or whatever we want to call it, I thought they were absolutely fantastic. And the credit to Japan, definitely. And Germany will have to pick themselves up.
Yeah, and there's something that I should note, which is remarkable. Japanese teams and their supporters, they clean the dressing room after the match, and their supporters take all their stuff and they dispose of it. It's a remarkable fact, and they're the only people in the world who do it. Liam, I remember South Korea in 1990 got to the semi-final. Very much a similar story in terms of effort, work rate, and organisation and belief. And here we have it again. Another example.
Yeah, they've got a tremendous attitude. There's no dissent in this team. There's no arguing with the referee. It's real respect for the game and their teammates and their coach. And I remember Arsene Wenger telling me he was over there for 2 or 3 seasons in Japan before he got the job at Arsenal. And he was telling me about the Japanese people. They're like this,
Yes.
They'll run through a brick wall for you. If you tell them to run through a brick wall, they'll do it, know.
Yeah.
And that's what they had to do against Germany. They really, really had to knuckle down and fight. The coach got the substitutes right. 2 subs came on, scored the goals. But Germany I'd be worried now if I was a German fan. And I don't think they're going to have any chance of winning this World Cup.
They have a big game on Sunday against Spain.
Well, Spain looked very impressive, Eamon.
Yeah, really I wanted to ask you about that, Liam. Let's just move on to Spain. I mean...
Well, I would fancy Spain to beat Germany. They've such good, talented midfield players,
Yeah.
Really good. I had a doubt about whether they could win it or not because I don't fancy the centre-forward, Morata. I've seen him play for Juventus. I've seen him play for Chelsea. He just doesn't do it for me. Although he came on the other night and he got a very good goal, but it was so easy. They won 7 against Costa Rica, who probably looked one of the worst teams in the tournament as far as I've seen. But Spain will be candidates to win, and I think they'll beat Germany. And if they beat Germany, I think the Germans are gone home. They'll be going out the first round.
John, it's always a question of, with a result like that, 7-0, was it because Spain were so brilliant, or was it because Costa Rica were very, very poor? Would you judge that?
Well, the other thing, there's a certain amount of judgment in it, Eamon, because you still have to score the goals. Your attitude has to be right to do it. I mean, if Costa Rica are not up for it, Spain take advantage of it, and you can't do any more than that in the game. I mean, if Spain only beat them 1-0, Eamon, you could say, and Costa Rica weren't at it, you say, well, Spain are nearly just as bad. But you can only beat what's in front of you, and they beat them well, 7-0. You can't really do any more than that, Eamon, So, no, Spain, and we know Spain. I mean, Spain have terrific players, Eamon.
Well, they got to the semi-final of the Euros. They lost on a penalty shootout to the Italians. Luis Enrique, the coach, he's a big-time coach, won the Champions League, won everything with Barcelona, and very much his own man in terms of sticking with players, putting young guys in. So he is a big factor in the equation. He's very confident, very tough, but we do know they're a good side.
Yeah, I would, from the first round of games, Eamon, you kind of, it's all very well trying to tip people before the tournament, but you really got to see them playing. You know?
Have to, yeah.
And, I would revise my...
Uruguay.
Well, I would revise my tip for that Argentina would win it. And
yes.
We'll go on to Uruguay in a minute, but Spain are definitely, what I've seen, they're definitely candidates to win the trophy.
Right.
Going on to
Uruguay.
Luis Suarez, can't run anymore. He's another one of these players that, he's out there. John mentioned Gareth Bale and Anna Ramsey, and Messi didn't really do it.
Yeah.
Lewandowski didn't really do it. Perhaps they're all coming into this tournament with huge reputations, but they've gone past their best.
Right.
And, if Uruguay are going to try and get out of that group, because it's a very, very difficult group, I wouldn't be playing Luis Suarez. He's not mobile enough. He can't run around,
Yeah, John, I saw the Uruguay match and I took Liam's tip and gave it to everyone around town. So I won't be able to go. I won't be able to go out for a while. But the Uruguayans, they looked big, sort of big heavyweights, more like a rugby team. But Suarez wasn't at it at all. And they were very disappointed because one thing about them was they always had to go.
Yeah, well, maybe it's, as Liam says, with Suarez getting older, the whole team might be getting older.
Yeah, Godin, the centre-half, he's 35 now, which isn't really... For a centre-half, that's okay. And Jimenez, who plays alongside him, they both played for Atletico Madrid for Simeone in their best years when they won the Champions League, for example.
Yeah. Well, the time passes, Eamon, and you can only... I think it's a temptation for the manager, for example, to be picking these players,
Yes.
Because it's very difficult to leave lads out who have done a lot for their country over a long period of time, Eamon. And it's a difficult situation, and that seems to be the case with Uruguay. They've had some terrific players over the years, there's no doubt, and they've done well in the major competitions. But unfortunately, time marches on.
Now, let's get to a subject of great interest. Liam, England. They were impressive in the Euros, although they were the home team. They just lost in a penalty shootout to Italy. And when you look at Wales' result against Iran this morning, and both of you talking about how good Iran were, England's 6-2 win against Iran, Liam, looks very, very good. And there are things about the English team mostly going forward, Saka and these good young players, Bellingham. There's a possibility, is there, that England will go a long way, will go deep into the tournament and maybe be contenders?
Yes, I mean they're in a fairly easy group. They might have a tough game this evening against the United States, because the United States are physical, they're strong, they're willing. But I should think England will beat them. They have, as you mentioned there, so many good forward players.
Yes.
They could afford to leave Grealish, Rashford, and Foden, who's been absolutely terrific for Manchester City for a couple of seasons now. They're not even starters, Eamon.
Yeah.
They've got Mason Mount, they've got Saka, and they've got Harry Kane as their front three. Bellingham, I liked. He gives the midfield energy. He gets into the box. He showed that with his
goal, very, very important, and good goal.
Yeah, it was a good goal. It was he got the opening goal. It was a good goal. He started off the move and then got himself in the box, and it was a real good header. So I would say they have the forward players to win the cup. I'm not too sure they're going to be able to handle the better teams defensively. When they come up, they'll probably get to the quarterfinals or even make it to the semis. But with that defense, with Harry Maguire, I think it showed Harry Maguire up for what he is. He very good at set pieces for England. He made a couple of the goals. He's also a decent distributor of the ball, but he has no pace and he loses his marker. And Iran, he was at fault for the Iran first goal. So I think they'll be found out defensively, but they certainly have the forward players to go deep into the tournament.
Yeah. John, Harry Maguire, this is Gareth Southgate showing extreme loyalty given the problems Harry Maguire has had over the last 12 months, really. I think he was involved in off-the-field stuff in Greece on holiday, and it seems to have affected him badly. But he is showing extreme loyalty. Would you agree with Liam that it might be a costly mistake?
Well, there's always a possibility of that, Eamon. But looking at the matches all the last week or so, most of the teams, I think the performance of England's performance would be, in my opinion, the best performance in the tournament so far.
Really? Right. Okay.
Yeah. I thought they were excellent. They scoring the goals. Anyway, that's what I thought during the week. That if I was as a stranger coming to it, if I saw all those teams playing during the week, England would be the one that gave the best performance.
Right. And what about the reservations that Liam has expressed about their defence? And I must say, I like the right back. I like the left back, actually, Shaw, who people seem to be critical of. I think he's a very good player. I would have a reservation about Harry Maguire, given the season he's had and the confidence. His confidence.
He's had a bad time, Eamon. There's no doubt about that. But before the bad time, he was a very, very good player. And he's I think he's only 26, 27 now. I mean, these things happen to players from some time in the career, and then they get a grip of themselves.
Right.
And we can only wait and see. But I think the possibility is that Maguire would go back to where he was, maybe 18 months ago.
Okay,
that's what I think. But from England's point of view, they don't need a bad Harry Maguire, let's put it that way.
Now, Liam, France, to beat Australia, it was impressive in many ways, considering Kante missing and, of course, Benzema, the Ballon d'Or winner and such a great player for Real Madrid and France, but particularly for Real Madrid in the last period. Big handicap losing two players of that quality. Still, they showed balance, the shape and the danger. Mbappe and the big centre forward Giroud, who keeps on going on, and gets his goals. What about them?
Yeah, I like them, Eamon. I like them simply because they have pace with Mbappe, and they have pace with Dembele, who's playing on the right wing.
Quick, yeah.
Mbappe playing And Griezmann played very well as well. I mean, he's playing a kind of a deep line centre forward, and he's got good vision, and he's able to get passes away to Dembele and Mbappe. And, you know, the speed that these two lads have was frightening, you know?
Yep.
And I think they'll be contenders to win as well, from what I've seen. Giroud, never the most mobile, but I think they like him in the team. You know, he's got that presence about him.
He does, yeah. And he holds the ball up well.
And he gets in position to get goals. You know, I think he's equal to Henry's French record. If he's not, he might have passed it. He might get the all-time French record in this World Cup. So with Mbappe, who truly is a world-class player, I was impressed with France.
Yeah, John, France.
Oh, France were very good, Eamon. And Eamon mentioned in there Griezmann.
Yeah.
I never thought Griezmann could play.
Oh, yeah, he's a good
player.
The way he played. Yeah. He's a good footballer.
I always saw him, Eamon, as a bit of a forward player.
Yeah, well, he is a goal scorer, but I'd say he can do both, John. He can certainly
but
play.
I didn't see him doing it before, Eamon. You know, I saw him as a goal scoring forward. But what he played the other night was the general.
Yes.
I never seen him play. I didn't think he had the ability actually to do that.
Yes.
So that's a big plus for the French team to have it, because if you look at it, you don't see many players like that in the tournament at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the best midfield player I think I've seen in this. You know, Modric has played, and Modric is still playing well.
Yeah.
But I was amazed at Griezmann with the way in which he played and the position in which he's played. And that's a huge plus for France, in my opinion, with the forward players that they do have.
Right.
Really good.
Yeah, I know. I think I was impressed. It was Australia, and that has to be borne in mind. But Griezmann has been a remarkable player. He's been messed around, John. You know, he was at Barcelona, then they let him go to Atletico, where he didn't want to be. He's had a lot of career problems, not to do with injury, but to do with fitting into sides, because as you say, well, he has got the ability to be a midfield player, a midfield general, but he's a deadly goal scorer when he's on, and that's what made him famous, as it were.
Yeah, I agree with that, Eamon. But and he did that very, very well, which is a sign of a terrific player. But maybe in his own head and his own ambition,
yes,
was to be a midfield player, Eamon.
Yeah.
You know, because he was so good scoring the goals. Brilliant player, there's no doubt. But I never saw him in all the times I've seen him play as a midfield player. And watching him the other day, actually, I had to look at the screen twice and see if it was really him getting in the position, in the deep positions to link everything together. I never saw him doing that before. If I was a goal scoring player, definitely a very, very good one. But he might actually be in the position that he always wants to be in.
Right. Liam?
Doing what he's doing now.
Yeah, I have to agree totally with John. I was surprised at how deep he was playing. You know, Deschamps has him kind of picking the ball up, starting things off, and he had a terrific range of passing. You know, and you can see when Mbappe makes a run, he can get it over the top of the full back for him and things like that. I just like John. I was saying, wow, I didn't know he could do this, Griezmann. You know, not seen him play this role before. But Deschamps has a really good forward line with those four guys in the team. You know, Griezmann, Dembele on the right, Mbappe on the left, and Giroud up front.
Right. I just want to ask you both a final question. It's the same question to both of you. John, I'll start with you. The quality of the football that we've seen in this World Cup. I watched Cameroon yesterday morning, and I watched a few of the African sides. The Saudis are a good example. It seems to me that when we first saw the African sides, I saw, say, 20 years ago, they weren't very well organised, they weren't very well committed. But what I'm seeing now is even the smaller sides, the lesser footballing nations, not nations, lesser footballing nations, like Iran, like Saudis, like Cameroon, who had lost their game. The quality of the play, pace, the quality of the technical ability of the players has gone up hugely. Would you, am I wrong, or would you agree with that?
No, I would agree entirely with it, Eamon. It takes time, you know. When America started and Canada started, It's not that long ago.
Yes.
I mean, I went to America, Manchester United in 1963, which is a long time ago, and we played American teams. They were hopeless. You couldn't kick the ball.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it shows you that what a great game soccer is.
Yes.
That it can be learned in all the different countries. And that's what's happened, with all these countries you're talking about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It's a long time in football.
Yeah.
But when they have taken it seriously, really seriously, and getting coach and attitude and all the various things, it tells you what a great game football is. It can be learned, but in the right way. It can go to countries that have never played before and become good teams, as
Yes.
we're seeing now. It's a great credit to the teams that do it, but the game itself that can be learned.
Yes.
If you look at them with other games, whether it be, say, basketball, you have to be 7 feet. If you're playing American football, if you're playing rugby, it's rough and it's tough.
Yeah.
It's a great game, but soccer is a great game for kids playing. You don't need a lot of money to provide them with the things that's needed. So it's a credit to the game that it has increased and improved as much as it done as you say, in the last 20 years. It's brilliant.
Yeah, Liam, that just occurred to me when I was watching Cameroon, I was watching Iran, that the standard's gone up. And you'd know more than most because you were the head of youth development at Arsenal, but also you played in Italy and you've seen a lot more of it. Would you agree that the standard of what the lesser footballing nations has gone up hugely? And of course, that's something that here in Ireland we need to note.
Yeah, we've gone backwards compared to the players that we used to produce. I would agree. And if you look at where these African players or Asian players, it might be South Korea, it might be Japan. If you look at where they're all playing at teams in Europe.
Yes.
Half that Japanese team was playing in Germany.
Eight of them playing in Germany. Yes.
So these are really good players, and they're getting, they're able to demonstrate that now at World Cups. Because for going back 20, 30 years, we always thought they were a bit naive, a bit, they'd gift you goals and things like that. But they've learned really how to play the game, and that's why many of them are operating in Europe. Even the Iran team today, a lot of them are playing in Europe. So a full credit to them. John is absolutely right. The game of soccer is brilliant for that.
And the game of soccer has improved all over.
Yes, we have to ask questions. I know you're going into something different. You'll have to ask questions of why we're not producing.
Yeah, but
that's maybe for another day.
Another conversation.
You look at the so-called nations that weren't good at soccer 20, 30 years ago, like Japan, like South Korea, like Iran, like the United States of America. They've all improved tremendously.
Okay, John Giles and Liam Brady, two great players, two great analysts.